This is the Bogeyman Show. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and put your notification bell so that whenever I post new video, you will be the first to get it. Thank you. This is the Bogeyman Show. Listen to the U.S. military man talking.
The Pentagon targets Iranian-backed militias. This as Israeli troops raid into central Gaza. Back at home, the victims of America's latest mass shooting come into focus.
I got hit, I think, when I went to the ground.
Amid a massive manhunt for the suspected killer. And
one cannot help but imagine what the parents have gone through.
Israeli hospitals detail horrors in the aftermath of the Hamas attack. All this and more on Faith Nation.
Faith Nation.
Israel expands its boots on the ground operations. Welcome everyone to Faith Nation from CBN headquarters in Virginia Beach. I'm Wendy Griffith in for John and Jenna. The next phase of Israel's war to eliminate Hamas's grip on Gaza has begun. The Israeli military tonight expanding troop activity on the ground. It comes after weeks of airstrikes targeting the terrorist organization following the deadly attack that stunned Israel and the world. Earlier today, the Israeli defense minister noted the nation expects the full-on ground invasion to be long and hard. As the military begins to move, we are covering this on multiple fronts. Benon Ben-Taleblu is a senior fellow with Foundation for Defense of Democracies. He'll join us soon with some analysis on the situation. But we begin tonight in Jerusalem, where Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and senior international correspondent George Thomas are staying up late on top of the situation. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us.
Sure. Good to be with you, Wendy.
Chris, let's start with you first. You, then George. What are things like there now on the ground? Can you hear things happening in the distance?
Well, we can actually hear things happening in the old city right now. That's what Chuck Colton, who's on location just across the street, is hearing. But we're not hearing any of the bombing going on in Gaza. We have been hearing warplanes in this area, and there have been rocket attacks up here. But the main battle is going on about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of us right now. This is the next phase. They're stopping short of actually calling it an invasion. They're saying this is the next phase. They're expanding operations. But Chuck Colton was talking to us earlier. One of the main things or signals that this might be the beginning of the invasion is that all the internet and all the communications are being cut off in Gaza right now. A very, very big signal that this could be the beginning of the invasion.
George, Israel is claiming that Hamas's militants, quote, operate inside and under the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza, effectively using victims of the war as human shields. How difficult will this make this operation?
Look, I think the fact that Israel came out with this about 5 hours ago was huge because it sends a very clear signal to the world and, more importantly, to Hamas, that Israel knows where their command and control center is, and they've known it all along. But again, this goes back to, we've been reporting about this for the last 21 days. We've reported in previous incursions into the Gaza Strip. This is the playbook that Islamic terrorists all around the world use, from ISIS to Al-Qaeda to Al-Shabaab to Boko Haram to ISIS, now to Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad. They use human shields. This is where they hide, because why? The opposing force finds it very difficult. They have to walk very gingerly when it comes to dealing with this. So what does Israel do? They take such extensive measures to make sure to mitigate civilian casualties, from dropping thousands upon thousands of leaflets, from making personal calls to each apartment that they're about to target, and then dropping these small little bombs on the top of these buildings, not really destroying them, but kind of shaking them. To, again, another warning, what country in the 21st century does all of these precautions to mitigate life? So the announcement today that Israel's IDF saying that the Hamas control and command center is at the bottom of this major hospital in downtown Gaza, not a surprise. But it does make the offensive, the forward offensive, a lot more challenging for sure.
It's heartbreaking. And Chris, I mean, what are you hearing about this hospital? And it's so frustrating because the liberal media refuses to even report about this.
Yeah, actually, it's been an open secret. Almost every operation that Israel has led, Almer, since 2007, 8, 2012, 14, 16, and 21.
This is the Boogeyman
When an
Show.
operation like this happens, that the senior leadership of Hamas goes under this particular hospital, and they know it's a safe refuge. They know that Israel is not going to bomb a hospital. And one other thing I'd add, Wendy, is that there was a recording also that the IDF released by an IDF officer talking to someone in Gaza. They're talking on the phone, and he's saying, "Get out of Khan Yunis. It's dangerous. I want you to go down south." And he says, "Where? I'm going? Okay, Khan Yunis." He goes down there, and he tells them that they won't be able to get there because Hamas is stopping them and shooting at people or shooting them to scare them away, and so they have to be in harm's way. As George said, this is part of the tactic of Hamas and other terror groups using their own civilians as human shields.
So criminal. Hamas is still holding more than 220 hostages captive in Gaza. I think the latest number was 229. Will negotiations for their release continue amid this ground operation?
Well, I mean, the news once the bombs started dropping, and you could hear the fireworks in that part of the Gaza Strip. There was this announcement by Qatar and other countries, Egypt, that the communication would continue to try and get these hostages released. But boy, oh boy, Wendy, once the operation starts, as it has, if it is, and if it's going to continue tonight and into the days and weeks ahead, it is going to get a lot more challenging to rescue these men, women, and children. Keep in mind, Hamas has been digging massive tunnels. John Wagi, our colleague here in Jerusalem, had a piece on cbnnews.com earlier this week, upwards of 1,300 tunnels. And keep in mind, Hamas is ready while the rest of the Gazans suffer without water, electricity, fuel. Hamas has in these tunnels thousands upon thousands upon thousands of gallons of gasoline. They've got ammunition. They've got food. They've stockpiled food for months and months. They are ready, which makes the military offensive by Israel all the more difficult. Just imagine 220 hostages. Where are they? In this labyrinth of tunnels. Makes it a lot more complicated and dangerous.
An underground war. We've never seen anything like it. And Chris, quickly, President Biden signaling his hope for a new generation of peace talks. Is that even
This is the
possible?
Boogeyman Show. Thank